To see what he's able to do between the pipes today.
Josh Smith and Nick Wehmeyer at the opening face-off. And an early, hard-fought battle. And it's the long pole, Luke Mahalik, who comes away. One of those backup attackers off the bench, did have 15 points last year. But a goal in each of his first 2 games of 2026 as a starter. And a huge weight off the shoulders of Yale, who struggled to score against a really impressive Army defense, putting up just 6 goals in the season opening loss.
Well, last week was a really interesting game for Yale. They came out, they had a 6-3 lead at the half, really looked very good offensively. Everybody kind of thought, hey, this is going to go good. And then Army, I think they just forgot what time the game started, and they just turned it on in that second half and outscored Yale 6-0. But the only concern for me was that those 6 Yale's goals, 6 different scores. You'll love to see the scoring from different places.
It's all about free in the hands for that full octane shot. And John Bullen and his 27 goals a year ago gets Marist on the board, and we're going to get a flag on the ensuing face-off. We had 5 hat tricks a season ago. We had one in the opener, the loss to Mercer, as Josh Smith called for the chop on the face-off. And you give Grogan room like that, you're going to learn why he was a top 40 recruit. Quick face-off win, a clean one at that for Nick Wehmeyer, who was 10 for 20 at the face-off mark last week. 48% a season ago is the number 2 Fogo. Iona, you saw that Siena Marist game last year. You know how tightly contested they'll be.
Yeah, and the good thing about that, or the impressive thing about that, was you had a week before where Siena really handled Marist. And then they were able to regroup, put it behind them, come back, and may have ever had here. And when you think about the guys that have been here, Ben Reeves, Tyler Warner, that's a pretty strong compliment.
And you off the top, you asked for some no longer only unassisted goals. You've got 2 assists.
The last 15 years, I'm hearing names that I've never heard before, and not just first years, guys who've been here for a couple of years, because there's just such opportunity with all the guys that have graduated.
And this is where you earn your playing time. When they're up for grabs, go take it. This was a guy who was a highly touted prospect, top 30 in the 2024 class. He played in 10 of the 13 games last year. He had just 3 total points. He is a guy who has accepted the challenge of becoming a feature piece of this offense over the first 2 games as Yale takes it away.
Miklashevsky having to run for his life, and that is what this...
I mean, Brown and Dartmouth had been receiving votes in the polls. You mentioned that Albany team that took Cornell to the brink. They're receiving votes. I think they cracked the top 20 this week. But the parity of lacrosse is going to continue to increase because the growth of the sport. And we saw 2 of the top 3 teams in the country lose last weekend in Maryland and Princeton. There's another big hit delivered by Gately, and it's going to draw a flag.
Yeah, that was I think the only thing more aggressive than that hit were the flags thrown by the officials, because they are both almost in the stands. And Gately just, all of a sudden, Yale jumps out, hits a bunch of goals really quick, and that 3-2 game is all of a sudden 7-2. And you need to get yourself back into that game. It doesn't take 5 goals, it takes 1 goal, 1 goal at a time, and that was why Coach Scarsello called that timeout.
Champions in Cornell. Marist 8-8 last season, 5-3 out of the MAC. We talked about it earlier, their MAC semifinal loss to Siena. Josh Smith against Nick Wehmeyer, and Wehmeyer jumped. It'll be Marist with the first possession of the 3rd quarter. Marist 8-8 last season, 5-3 out of the MAC. We talked about it earlier, their MAC semifinal loss to Siena. Josh Smith against Nick Wehmeyer, and Wehmeyer jumped. It'll be Marist with the first possession of the 3rd quarter.
Played a little bit too much with his stick on defense and needed to play a little bit more with his body.
Faceoff is popped up and secured by Gaetano. Another face-off win for Marist. So make it take it as they stay with the momentum. Trying to tie the game for the first time since it was 2-2 and they turn it over. Dangerous feed from Patton, and two-time Tewaaraton Award watch list member. And this is a season with a chance for Luke as just a sophomore to kind of have his coming out party. A guy who scored over 200 points in his high school days. He gets his second goal in a little bit as Jackson took that from way outside. Pasadena, California native.
And a turnover by Wehmeyer going into the traffic.
And Marist floating it for...
You have that one-on-one matchup that you want.
And as you've been saying, Pat, trying to go low on Metzger has been a much better success rate as Marist jumps on the face-up.
And there Anthony Annunziata with the ball. A guy who came to Yale as the face-off midfielder, but has really stepped up and is doing a great job on a wing right now. You're seeing Grogan on attack. You're seeing some of these midfielders, Blakicki, all these guys. It is good things to come for Yale.
And Ben Cuomo, the third name. We've got first Hatties, first goals. As a whole, looking for that first win of the year. And right on cue, Ben Cuomo comes away with the face-off win. It's a guy who won 67% of face-offs through his entire high school career. Thompson breaks through that defense, and he continues to push down low. They get it to Gately. And as the defense obviously attack him closer to the net, he finds Blakicki wide open. That's now 8 assists on 13 goals for Yale. Looking for another tally, Blakicki, one more!
And the assist from first-year Cicatello. So this is when you see these young guys getting hungrier and hungrier. Scoops the ground ball, gets it out, feels that pressure coming, finds Blakicki in the middle.
There's something about, one, it's your first home game for these guys, these first years, but under the lights, that early season, frigid New England lacrosse, that'll fire these guys up. And Yale has 14 goals through 3 quarters of play and are going to take a 14-6 lead. On the road, they travel to Binghamton later this weekend. Then they'll host an Air Force team that's receiving votes in the polls. They'll host Mount St. Mary's for their conference opener and then travel to Merrimack as the next 4 on the card for Marist, to, unless they really turn up the heat here, are going to be looking for their first win still at the end of this one. Another 4 points a year ago, tied for third most on the team. Gets his first point today. We've been talking about it. It's really just been all Sean Mullen. 4 goals and an assist. And maybe that starts to open things up for this Marist attack. He's going to get a gift possession on the jump. It was quacked. Pick it clean and go right back into the shooting motion. He has
the likelihood of that, the likelihood of it coming back straight, I can see that. I don't know a lot of people that are going to have that reaction to catch that ball. Sean Mullen really just
at Blakicki.
And it looked like Blakicki, I think, subbing in for David Anderson and making the most of that opportunity.
We talked about there's open range. There are spots to take on this offense, and Coach Shea is and a win for Cuomo at the end. He's going to grab it and go. Cuomo toward cage. He's hammered from behind as the shot is saved.